Hey everyone, welcome to my second last preview of the Metropolitan Division, and today we're going to be talking about the New York Islanders. So obviously the big thing about the New York Islanders is that they lost John Tavares, obviously. So I have them finishing seventh in the Metropolitan Division. Um, they're coming off a very disappointing season where they missed the playoffs again. They were pretty much out of it by February. They lost John Tavares, as I mentioned, and John Tavares is probably top five center in the game, easily top five center of the game in my opinion. Impacts the game defensively and offensively. If you look at his goals above replacement statistics, it clearly ranks him in the top five for the past three seasons. And he's turned into an elite two-way player as well. So sucks to lose him. And they overpaid a bunch of veterans. Like Komarov got 4 years times, I think it was like 3 million, and that's just insane. Comeau was one of the worst players in the NHL statistically last season, so I don't know what they were thinking there. So in terms of their structure, they got a new coach, Barry Trotz, who was obviously a Stanley Cup champion with the Washington Capitals, and by removing Doug Wade, whose system pretty much sucked, they had no defensive system in place, which is part of the problem in there in New York with their defensive issues. Trotz should come in and kind of deploy a better defensive system, make it more structured. Although his Caps team was pretty bad defensively last season, so I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. So obviously, looking at the forward group, Matthew Barzal is a superstar. He's absolutely incredible. The second best skater, in my opinion, in the NHL to Connor McDavid. If you look at his edge work and even his acceleration, it's elite. It's incredible. It's a pleasure watching him, and he's going to be a superstar for a long time in the NHL. And he puts up incredible zone entry and exit numbers. He's really smart. He's a terrific playmaker. He can dominate games at times simply based on his skating and his offensive IQ. Uh, that only way a handful of guys can do. So yeah, and, Barzal is just incredible. The question I have for him is can he maintain or increase the level of production with the increased quality of competition he's going to be facing, because he was sheltered behind John Tavares last season when John took all the tough matchups. Beyond Barzal, however, there's not too much depth beyond the first line. Josh Bailey's okay. He outperformed expectations. I don't know how good he is without John Tavares. We're gonna have to see, because John Tavares has a reputation of pulling guys up like Matt Molson and Kyle Okposo and the next guy on Anders Lee, who got 40 goals again, um, which is nice to see. We're gonna have to see if he can do that without Tavares, which is a major question about this team, obviously. Anthony Beauvillier is nice. He's a good skilled player. Josh Hosang, I really like him. He's really underrated. If you look at his zone entry and exit numbers, they're insane. Really good skater. He needs to sort out some of his character issues. But if he can do that, he's going to be a really, really good player, probably top six forward for a very long time. But the center depth is just awful behind Barzal. It's Brock Nelson and Filppula and pretty much nothing else. So Sezikis or Clutterbuck. So yeah, the center depth is a huge issue with Tavares gone. A guy like Andrew Ladd's incredibly overpaid, and he's not very good. He's decent defensively, but he's not that good. They were on a guy from the KHL, Kovar, I believe his name is. I don't know if he's going to be any good. We're going to have to wait and see. Those KHL guys are really hard to tell if they're going to be any good or not. So their defense, it isn't very good either. Letty and Boychuk aren't very good. Letty's a good second pairing guy. Boychuk's probably borderline second pairing guy at this point. I like Sebastian Aho, the Islander Sebastian Aho. I love both Sebastian Ahos, but yeah, he's going to need an increased role, especially with the loss of Calvin DeHaan, which is huge. If you look at Calvin DeHaan's defensive goals above replacement numbers, they're insane. He's incredibly underrated and has been for a really long time, and that's a huge pickup for Carolina, as I mentioned. The goaltending has been a disaster on the island for a really long time, and they signed Robin Leonard this past offseason. I think Leonard's a little bit underrated, but behind that defense, I don't know if it's going to matter too much. So looking at their actual on-ice results, in terms of their possession stats, Corsi 4 percentage was at 47.48%, which was 27th in the NHL. Corsi 4 per 60, 48.87, which is 20th in the NHL. Corsi against per 60 was at 54.06, which is 29th in the NHL. So they weren't a very good defensive team or possession team at all. They didn't really drive offensive possession too well, generate many shot attempts, and they were terrible at suppressing shots. um, which I don't know if that's too much of the system or that's the actual personnel. The defense is definitely weak, but is that some of it on the forwards? I'm not sure because guys like Tavares, if you look at their 2016-17 results, their defensive results were actually pretty decent. So I don't know what happened. In terms of their goals for on ice results, goals for per 60, 2.49, fifth. Which when we're going to look at expected goals, they overperform that. And then goals against per 60 is 2.65, which is 29th in the NHL. Um, and they kind of underperformed that as well, just by a little bit. When you look at expected goals for per 60, they were at 2.23, which is 18th in the NHL. Expected goals against from Corsica, obviously 2.5, which is 30th in the NHL, so not very good there. Not generating enough high quality chances, enough shot attempts on goal, and keeping up way too many from the home plate area. As I mentioned, defense is a big problem with this team. Their PDO is around average 100.54, so not too unlucky or not lucky at all. And their penalty differential was a +1, which is 17th in the NHL. So, in conclusion, actually, let me go over the most important player, in my opinion, is Matt Barzal, obviously. He provides elite level production, 94th percentile in relative Corsi for, 80th percentile in expected goals for, 93rd percentile in Corsi for, um, 95th percentile in penalty differential. His goals above replacement in Chance McCallum's model was 15.99, so basically 16. And his comparables are Anze Kopitar, Austin Matthews, Brad Marchand, Blake Wheeler, and Johnny Gaudreau. So as I mentioned, Matt Barzal is incredible. He's insane. He should get better with age as well, which is scary. Minus player Leo Komarov, statistically one of the worst players in the NHL, as I mentioned last season, produced negative 1.86 goals above replacement, and his comparables are Valtteri Filppula, which is in and of a problem in and of itself, because he's their third line center. They have multiple negative goals above replacement players. Zach Ronaldo, Troy Brower, Ryan Reeves, Joel Ward, and Zach Cassian. So not too pretty for Komarov, and you got him for 4 years. In conclusion, the losses are significant in terms of John Tavares. Calvin DeHaan is a huge one. And they replace them with negative goals above replacement players, which will be ugly on term. So unfortunately, I do think that the Islanders had an amazing job picking up Wallstrom and Dobson. So the future does look bright but for this upcoming season, I definitely think that they're going to struggle a little bit. So, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.